Yo, what's going on, man? Happy October the 1st. Welcome into the ChrisBeCappinn Show. A little bit later this morning, just because I wanted to do a little bit more deep diving on the NBA previews. We'll talk about the Atlanta Hawks and we'll talk about the Memphis Grizzlies today as we start to break down these NBA teams and kind of look ahead to NBA season, which is right around the corner, man. So I'm super excited about that. If you can, hit the like button for me as you join. We'll get into the two WNBA games, do a quick recap of what we saw last night on Monday Night Football, and then we'll get up out of here. Shouldn't be too long of a show today, but I know we're gonna get some varying opinions on these WNBA games, and I'm here for all the discourse and the back and forth. So let's jump right into it for today. Quick recap before we get into a couple of the comments. Yesterday I was on Tennessee. Last night I was on Tennessee. I was on the Titans plus the 2.5, and that ended up being an easy winner. Will Levis ended up getting hurt, and Tennessee offense started pouring in points. Man, they finished with 30 points. I feel sorry for anybody who had the under because it was definitely an under game. But Mason Rudolph looked good last night. So plus 2.5 for Tennessee was a winner. Kenneth Walker under his 54.5 rushing yards. Remember, I talked about this on the show yesterday for people who joined in and watched live. This number was at 55.5. By the time I finished the show, it was at 54.5. And he had 6 rushing yards at halftime. And then, the Lions, I think just, a little fearful of Geno. They start, playing a little bit more drop back coverage, and they give up 3 rushes for 20 yards to Kenneth Walker throughout the second half of the game. He finishes with 80 rushing yards. Was I frustrated. I was so frustrated because it wasn't, big. It wasn't, they never give up explosive runs like that, but they gave up 3 to Kenneth Walker. So on the wrong side of that one, we'll take it and keep moving forward. Let's go through a couple of the comments real quick, and then we'll jump into the games on the board for today. What up, Prestigious Prodigy? It says top of the morning, Chris in chat. Hit the like button for our guy. Appreciate that. What up to my guy, Courtney? Mark says, good morning, Chris and community. It's going to be a money-making Tuesday. I need it to be, Mark. I need it to be. What's up, Alex? Good morning. Good morning, Jose. CG3 in here as well. He says, good morning, Chris. What's up, bro? What's up, Chris? Helms in here. Says, morning, Chris. Love your sweatshirt today. Appreciate that, bro. It's actually a hoodie. But yeah, appreciate that. What's up, Marquise? Nathan in here as well. He says Lion game looked like a college football game. It did, man. No defense at all. No defense at all. Cash Tennessee minus 10.5. Raptor says, okay. DJ Prop. Yeah, I think what did you say the Tyrell Huntley was yesterday? I think you said 30.5 rushing yards. I saw him pick up like 20 on one play, so I'm pretty sure he cashed that. I'm glad you cashed it as well. Dante says shout out to Mason Rudolph. Good morning, Kristen. Best of luck to you today, and I appreciate you tapping in as always. Let's see what else we liking in here. All right, let's jump into the games for today. So 1-1 yesterday. First game would be the Aces and the Liberty rematch. Of course, this is game number 1. I didn't change the line, but this line, when I made the standalone video last night for people who got a chance to watch it, this line was down to 4 and some 3.5s. 3.5 was the consensus, and I talked about it in the video last night, man. I know a lot of people are expecting the Aces to bounce back because they're the Aces. Excuse me. I know a lot of people just expect the Aces to kind of bounce back because they're the Aces. But, in the video that I made on Saturday for game 1 in this contest, I said in that video that the Aces were going to struggle because I thought the Liberty would, I think the reference I used was kind of, bull that sees red. I think every time they see the Aces, they want to smoke them just because of the way that the Aces did them last year. I don't think that it's a question whether who's the better team. I don't think that the Liberty are going to sweep the Aces. I'm not seeing that, but I don't think that the Aces are going to win a game in New York. The question in my mind that I've gotten myself to is, do they win the game and cover this spread? Because it's gone back up now. The spread, of course, now is back up to 4.5. So now you need them to win by 2 possessions. And the other thing I want to mention just really, really quickly is I just want to make sure I got the numbers right. But I know for sure that every time the Aces have lost all 4 games so far in the season series. They got beat 3 times, twice in Vegas already. They got beat in New York twice already as well. And I want to say that each game, even though Chelsea Gray didn't play in the first one, each game, the Liberty won by double digits, except game number 3 that was played in New York. And that was the game without A'ja Wilson. Without A'ja Wilson, they kind of let their foot up off the gas just a tad bit. I just want to double check real quick. And this is why I don't think the point spread really matters, honestly. I think you just kind of pick the winner. But let's put some numbers to it real quick just to make sure. I want to confirm, I'm not tripping. 4-0 straight up, 3-1 against the number. Only game that they didn't cover was the game that A'ja Wilson didn't play in. Also 3-1 to the under. Of course, last game was the one that went over by 0.5 point. Excuse me. So I talked about this yesterday. Who is this guy? All right. We finished that. We finished that. We don't have to go back and forth. We're not here for that. Y'all, if you've been watching the show long enough, we're not here for that. So distraction, it was kind of distracted me a little bit. I don't know if y'all can tell or not, but I was trying to read it, also trying to, keep the show going. Anyway, all right, back to this. Game 1 recap. The thing that really stood out to me in this, let me just get to my notes. The thing that really stood out to me in this game was the Liberty in these back-to-back spots. I talked about this yesterday. 8-0 were the Liberty this season when they're playing the team when they were playing the team that they previously just played. So they've won every back-to-back game. The Aces also are 2-1 in those back-to-back games as well, but they were favorites in all of them and didn't cover any of them. 0-2-1 against the number. All 3 of their games went to the under in that spot as well. I talked about this in last night's video. If you go through and just look at the box score, because I went back and watched this game as I said I would yesterday. When I went back and watched it, man, I think there's a couple things that Coach Becky Hammond is going to be able to do in this game. The one thing she could potentially do is give Meg Gustafson some minutes. And if she gives Meg Gustafson some minutes, that's going to be Kia Stokes minutes, of course. But Meg Gustafson, I'm of the mindset that she's not going to be able to guard anybody out there. They're going to have her on skates. And I'm not sure how that looks. Alicia Clark played 24 minutes, as you guys can see. She was pretty efficient. She was a +5, where the Aces starters, that was the second highest plus minus on the team behind Tiff Hayes. Tiff Hayes should also see a few more minutes. When I was watching the game late into the third quarter and into the fourth, the Aces were going super small. They actually had Tiff Hayes out there with the other starters, and Alicia Clark went to the bench. And I think that's going to be I'm interested to see if Meg Gustafson plays a lot, if at all. I know they got Queen Egbo. I don't think that she's going to see the floor either. And I just think that the Aces, I really question if they have enough. I don't think that they do. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I don't think that they have enough. Going back to look at the Liberty first game recap, you can see that Sabrina played really, really well. She had 21 points. She was a +10. Stewie, 20 points at halftime. She finished with 34. Jacquel Jones, big double-double, 13 points and 12 rebounds in that game as well. And Phoebus didn't even shoot the ball a lot. She only shot the ball 4 times. She hit 2 of her 4 threes and finished with just 6 points. Benaji Laney Hamilton also didn't play well. She was 1 for 6 from the floor and only ended up with 3 points. Which I think, she only hit am I tripping? Yeah, she made 1 shot and hit 2 free throws. I'm tripping. Okay. And they didn't get a lot of contribution from the bench either. So I kind of feel like the Liberty could play a little bit better. Granted, they shot 50% from the floor, and I don't think that that's going to repeat itself. I think the Aces defense will be a little bit better. I also think the Aces will do a better job of getting back and, protecting some fast break points. I mentioned this in the video last night, but they gave up 16 fast break points, which on the season they only allow about 9. So I think that'll kind of revert back to normal as well. I think, I shout out to my guy Justin. I think if you do like the Aces at all, I think you like them early. That whole don't underestimate the heart of a champion thing. I can get it. I understand. But I also, like I said, I think that the Liberty are much better, but I think that they're good enough to win these games against the Aces. And so if you like the Aces, I do kind of feel like you want to play them early. I think first half is +2, and I couldn't talk anybody off wanting to play the Aces. Excuse me. I couldn't talk anybody off wanting to play the Aces early in this game. The other thing we got to remember is if we go back to series game 1, the Liberty lost. Liberty won game 1 against the Dream. Game 2, they really, really struggled. It wasn't until late in that game where they were able to kind of turn it on and ended up winning the game by margin. But I think they didn't cover the first quarter or first half. So you are expecting, Becky Hammond said it. She called game 2 a must win. I don't think that they're going to win, but didn't quite get there with the points in this one for the Liberty either. The Aces first half, I think, would be the way that I would play it. I talked about these trends that I shared in the video last night as well. The first one being games where a team has lost 4 times throughout one season to the same team, and then in the 5th game they're a dog, which the Aces are. 27-16 to the under. That's 62.8%. And I do think, like I said, we get the effort from the Aces after being a no-show on the defensive end and allowing the Liberty to shoot 50% from the field last game. Aces defense got better almost each quarter in that game after giving up 28 points in the first quarter as well. So I like the under a little bit more than I like anything else in this game. I also mentioned that the Aces were a perfect 3-0 to the under, when they're facing the same team that they just previously faced. And I think we see a little bit of regression from the shot making perspective for the Liberty and for the Aces in this game. The bottom trend you guys can see is all about, this is Moneyballer too, moneyballer.com for people that are interested. This is the first half and full game trend since the Olympic break. You can see that the Aces 12-4 to the first half under, 12-4 to the full game under. Liberty 9-6 to the first half under, 10-5 to the full game under, and 6-1 to the first half under and full game under as a home favorite as well. Those that are highlighted in that light pink or dark pink color. So yeah, I like the under a little bit more. I really, really want to get there with the Liberty. I really, really do. But I think I'm gonna stay off the side in this one. From a player prop perspective, I talked about these last night as well. I think Kelsey Plum continues to play well. I think if you're Coach Sandy Brondello of the New York Liberty, you just really want to make somebody else beat you. That's not named Asia Wilson. So Kelsey Plum points, 17.5. I think she gets there again. She has gone over in 3 of the 4 games so far this season with 22, 25, and 24. The game that she didn't get there, she had 13. So yeah, I think Kelsey Plum, for whatever reason, she plays really good against this Aces team. Just kind of uses her speed. They put her in a lot of action so she can play make for others or get downhill and get to the rim, and she was doing that in game 1. So yeah, I think she has a big game. I think Jackie Young plays well. I like Jackie Young. If I'm playing her, I like her threes. Over 1.5 3-point makes was -125. She hit 2 in the first game. She shot 7. And just watching Coach Sandy Brondello, she's going under on a lot of the actions and making the Aces have to beat them from the 3-point line, which the Aces couldn't do in game 1. They shot 28%. So I like that. I think Stewie points listed at 21.5 is another good look because when she's aggressive, I don't think the Aces have anybody that can guard her. Alicia Clark is a tad bit too small, even though she has done pretty well guarding her throughout, the longevity of their careers. You can kind of see it though when Stewie puts her mind to it, and she was kind of fired up for game 1 after going 3 for 17 last year when they played. They can't really slow her down. I think it's going to be difficult. And if you do, then you open it up to all the shooters on the floor. So you really got to play man to man because the Liberty don't have anybody on the floor that can't shoot the basketball. So yeah, I like Stewie a little bit more than anybody else. If I'm looking at points prop for the Liberty, Stewie over her points, rebounds, and assists, over 33.5. I think If you want to put that together, I'm thinking that she's going to get, grab the rebounds, and she's super unselfish as well. So I know she went over in game one. She crushed the line. I could see her having another really big game here. 33.5 is her points, rebounds, and assists. If I had to play between points, rebounds, and assists, I'll probably just take the points. I don't think she gets to the points, rebounds, and assists. She doesn't get to the points. So I like the points a little bit more, but I can see her, going out there and fulfilling that line as well. And that's what I like for the first game. Let's see what you guys are thinking before we keep it moving. What up, Mitchell? Appreciate you for tapping in. Jose says he thinks it's more of a defensive game. Under sounds good. Yeah, I'm definitely playing the under. I see. So I think the total in this game went up. It was 164.5 right before I started the show. Let's see if you can still get. Yeah, 164.5 is available on FanDuel, Bet, MGM, Fanatics. Yeah, so it is trickling up a little bit. I like it. Paulo says I got 164. It's now 164.5. Yep. Steve just says big on the Lynx spread today. Must win game. Can't lose both games at home. We'll talk about that. Mitchell says I got under at 164. My only spot I like for the first game. Okay. Let's move over to game number 2 then. This line had also come down to 4.5. It looks like the consensus is 5 now in favor of the Lynx to bounce back. They'll be home favorites in Minnesota tonight. And, just kind of looking at this one from a box score perspective, I talked about this game. I talked a little bit about this game yesterday. But here are the numbers to go along with it. If you're a Connecticut Sun fan, you won this game the exact way that you want to win a basketball game. You scored 73 points, which is the ugliest game you'll ever see. You shot 41% from the 3-point line. Shout out to Marina Mabry, who hit 6 of her 11 threes. Alyssa Thomas dominated the rebounds. She had 17 points, 17 and 10, 9 assists. Dejanay did her part as well. She finished with 9 rebounds to go along with her 13 points. DeWanna Bonner came on late, even though she did shoot the ball 4 for 17 from the field. And that's how you won the game. Veronica Burton also hit some timely jump shots. I know she only finished with 5 points, but she had some timely jump shots in this game as well. Now, you flip it to the Minnesota Lynx, and they played pretty well throughout some parts of the game, but they finished shooting just 41.5% from the field, 25% from the 3-point line. Now, here's the caution, because I do like the Minnesota Lynx. I think everybody likes them to bounce back in this spot. It's 2 cautions that I have about Minnesota. First thing is, and I put this here. All 4 matchups, bottom left, all 4 matchups were decided by 5 points this season. That does not give me a lot of, oh man, Connecticut gonna smash in this spot. These 2 teams have played 4 times. No team has ever been able to get a lot of separation. I think Connecticut won by 5 in the game in Minnesota, in the game in Connecticut right before the season ended. That was the biggest win that either team had between the 2. But if going back to this, if you're Minnesota, you got to be encouraged by, shooting 25% from the 3-point line, no losing the game by 3 points. You can see here, Elena Smith had 0. She was 0 for 4 from the 3-point line. Nafisha Collier 0 for 2 from the 3-point line. Kayla McBride 1 for 5 from the 3-point line. Courtney Williams shot the ball terrible in general. She was 3 for 12. So some of those shots got to fall. I think Courtney Williams got to play a lot better in this game. You also didn't get much from Natisha Heidemann, which I'm not expecting that much from Natisha Heidemann, honestly. She just be out there. She's not super great in my opinion, but Misha Hans Allen played really, really big. I think her minutes probably continue to play, her minutes probably stay there, especially if Elena Smith isn't playing great. I think she'll get a few more minutes because she did come in and grab a couple, she had 6 rebounds and 6 points and she only played 10 minutes. So I do think that, that's due to probably continue if Elena Smith doesn't play well. But a couple things that kind of support the Minnesota side. So left corner, top left, you guys can see Minnesota. They finished the season 4-0 straight up and against the spread when they were facing the same opponent in a back-to-back situation this season. So they won and covered every single game. I looked at teams who lost game 1 as a home favorite. 16-2 straight up, 13-4 against the number, 76.5% per Killer Sports database. Says that the team that lost game 1 understands that they need to win game 2, and they typically bounce back. Connecticut also won 2 games this season as a dog. Following in that next game, they were 0-2 against the number, and they failed to reach their team total in each one of those games. And I already talked about how all 4 matchups so far have been decided by 5 points or less so far this year. So just some things to kind of take into consideration. I put on the right side, Minnesota should bounce back, but winning the game by margin against a stifling Connecticut defense can be tough. It did kind of feel like, Coach Stephanie White had the perfect game plan for defending Minnesota. They double feed when they needed to in the post, and you're going to need some of those shots to go in. Outside of Bridget Carlton, nobody really shot the ball well from the floor at all. They did a good job of picking up Courtney Williams, making it difficult for her, try to get to her midi. She loves to pull up in that mid-range. So she's going to have to play a lot better. And you're also going to have to key in on Marina Mabry. Those 3-point attempts going to have to be down. They let her shoot 6 for 11. And I talked about this. Minnesota, not the greatest 3-point shooting defense. They let, who was it? Diana Taurasi in game 1 of the playoffs, shoot the ball really, really well. Natasha Cloud also shot the ball well from the 3-point line. But with your season on the line, I do kind of feel like their season on the line. Not that Minnesota can't go on the road and win a couple games, but you don't want to lose again to this team. They also struggled against Connecticut throughout the whole season. I think they only won 1 of the 3 games. So now Connecticut's beaten them 3 times out of 4 matchups. It's a really difficult, matchup for Minnesota. But I do think that they get the job done. I just haven't played it yet. And they were in control. I see Adonis put this at the bottom. He says Lynx were in control, blew it in the 4th. Yeah, that 4th quarter what was the 4th quarter? It was, I got it pulled up right here. It was 16-8. They just literally couldn't score the basketball anymore. But they also started the game off slow. So they lost the first quarter 23-16, won the second quarter by 2, 22-19. Then they jumped on them in the third, 24-15, and literally could not score the basketball again. I kind of want to take Kayla McBride to go under on her 3-point prop just because I said Connecticut 3-point defense is really, really good. I think it'll be the other guy. I think the way Kayla McBride gets her shots, I know she shoots it really, really quick. It's like a flick of the wrist shot, but I just feel like it's a pretty bad matchup for her. I wanted to kind of go back and look at her box scores against Connecticut this season, and I haven't had a chance to do so. So I haven't played this game, but I kind of feel like Kayla McBride could struggle again. I think Elena Smith shoots the ball better. I think Bridget Carlton continues to shoot the ball, and I think they'll have, Courtney Williams will play a little bit better. That's what I'm thinking. Nafisha Collier was pretty good. She missed a couple difficult shots, a couple easy bunnies as well. But yeah, I don't think it's a big Kayla McBride series. It's just my opinion on this one. Let's see what you guys are saying about this one. Will we jump back in? Mitchell says he likes the Lynx in this spot. What up, Three Kings? Lee Brown says, what site is this? This is not a site. This is a software that I use, Lee Brown. It's not a site. What up, G421? Says, what's good, Chris? Titans -3.5. Cashed it yesterday. You took the 3.5. Okay. G Martinez says, Sun has something on the Lynx. And I kind of agree with this, which is why I haven't bet it yet, G Martinez. I also kind of feel like both teams that lost in game 1s could bounce back here and play a lot better in game 2 early. So I talked about liking the Aces plus the 2 in the first half. I also think that the Lynx bounce back early in this game. You got to kind of get that bad taste out of your mouth and establish yourself before Connecticut feels like they own you. Like I said, Connecticut has beaten the Lynx 3 of the 4 matchups so far this season. So I couldn't talk anybody off liking the Lynx early, thinking that they could potentially run out of, I don't know if they're going to run out of gas, but like I said, none of the matchups have been by, no team has won by more than 5 so far. Excuse me. Natasha Heidemann been terrible all season. Timeout says, I agree with that. Mark says Link had a terrible shooting night. Not happened in 2 games in a row. So if you put some numbers with that, Mark, which is what I did. they could potentially have a bad shooting night. We just saw the Indiana Fever have 2 bad shooting nights against this Connecticut defense. And I mentioned this. I don't have the numbers right in front of me right now, but I can pull them up real quick. It worries me that Connecticut 3-point defense is so good, and that's what Minnesota wants to do. And Connecticut knew what Minnesota wanted to do, and that's the part that scares me a tad bit. If you go in and look at the advanced stats, not even the advanced stats, just the regular stats, and you look at opponent 3-point field goal percentage, Connecticut was number 2 in the league this year, allowing teams to shoot just 31.6%. 31.3%. Minnesota was actually the second best team. So if anything, we should see some regression coming from Connecticut side. And I kind of lean towards Connecticut team total under. I know it's a super low number, but I think if they're going to play defense the way that they did in the last game, I think that they will struggle to score. Connecticut shot 30. Connecticut wasn't a great 3-point shooting team, but they shot leather off the ball, 41%. So just to kind of put some numbers with that. AT double been cashing down, it says. Elias says, what about the total at 152.5? I lean over. I do lean over. 2 people asking, Mark asking about the total as well. I do lean over. The problem is that here's the problem for me. Connecticut shot 41% from the 3-point line, which is an outlier, and they still only scored 73 points. Like that lends itself. I'm not into having to sweat out these under, especially when they're under 153. I think the money that came in, I don't know if it was professional money or not, but the money that came in on this game pushed the total from 151 down to up to 152.5 now. So it has been some money coming on the over in this spot. And I kind of agree. I think if Minnesota's gonna bounce back, it's gonna be offensively. Not that they can't defensively as well, but I don't know, man. This is just it's an ugly series, and I feel like whatever team wins is gonna be the team that kind of grinds it out between the two. If you go back and let's look at, just to kind of go with that total real quick. If I look at this season, real quick. Man, my son is needing a little help. All right. So anyway, going back to the game, going back to the 4 matchups so far. They're actually 3-1 to the over so far, but there's the grand scheme of things, the games have stayed under by about 2 points. It makes no sense. But remember game 1 when they played way back when on May the 23rd, that was the game that DeWanna Bonner got fouled. She ended up hitting some free throws, won the game by 1 point in overtime. And I was at a mindset that game shouldn't have, I thought the Lynx should have won that game. So of course that game goes over. But the other games have been, really low scoring. July 4th, 73-78. Game goes over, but it goes over by what? By half a point? Yeah. And then game 3 goes over by half a point, finishes 154, and the total was 153.5. The game that was just played, the game goes under 70-73. Playoff basketball typically a little more intense. I'm gonna stay off the total in this one, but I do lean over. I'm just not, like I said at the beginning, I'm not sure if Connecticut's gonna be able to shoot the ball that well again. And that, with them only scoring 73 points and shooting 41% from the 3-point line, that kind of lends itself to an under, but I'm not into taking these totals when they get to 151.5, especially because of late game fouling. Drew says some money line and over. McBill says aces are done. Liberty -3.5. It seems like I'm the only person that feels that way, Bill. Me and you, just me and you, but I didn't bet it. Brian says, good morning, Chris. Nice Titans victory last night. Seattle come up short, but that over did cash. Let's get it tonight, guys. Who says it's going under? Still I think this means low total will be like 142. First quarter will end up Lynx 18 and Sun 13. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, strongest play on the game though will probably be Minnesota early if I had to play this game. I didn't play it, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Minnesota comes out and kind of asserts themselves early in this game. Probably have a multiple possession lead at the end of the first half. So I think I like Minnesota. Real quick, let's see what the best number you can get for the first half. You can get Minnesota -2.5 at -115 in the first half over on BetMGM. I think that's what I like a little bit more. I think that they can have a 3-point lead at halftime in this game. You got to not play with your food though. So yeah, we'll say that's the best bet in this game. I do think that they bounce back, but like I said, not really in the fade in Connecticut quite yet. Man, I really want to fade Connecticut though. Anyway, all right, let's keep it moving. Now we get into some some NBA previews. So I got to shift notes. First team we got up is the Atlanta Hawks. The next team we'll talk about is the Memphis Grizzlies, and then we'll get into a quick recap. So Atlanta, I put odds up here, I put subtractions up here, and I'll talk through all of this with you guys as well. Any other spicy markets that I saw. I'm not gonna place a lot of futures in the NBA this season, just because I always get a little scared to tie my money up for too long, and we have a bunch of injuries. But last year I did pretty well on season long bets in general. So looking at the Atlanta Hawks, first thing I like to do is go back and look at last year. This team was 36-47 straight up. They finished 29-54 against the spread, which was the worst in the NBA by a long shot and for a really, really long time. This is the team that the odds makers just always typically, they just projected them to play well because, of course, you had DeJounte Murray, of course, you had Trae Young, but Atlanta also had a lot of injuries as well. They were viewed as a disappointment last year after landing in the playoff tournament for the third straight season. But they like I said, they did deal with a slew of injuries to key players. With both DeJounte Murray and Trae Young on the floor at the same time, they had a net rating of a -4, which is why I think you see DeJounte Murray ends up getting traded to New Orleans. That was the second worst of any pairing for Hawks players that played at least 50 games together, a -4 in net rating. So that experiment didn't work and they got rid of it. So what do? They go out and draft, I think his name is Zakari. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name. I think it's Rochester or something like that. He's one of the French guys. They draft him with the #1 overall pick. I do think that he's going to be pretty well. He did have an underwhelming summer league performance. He didn't play really well, so people probably going to be down on him on that. But he is a very versatile guy that can play defense. Pretty diverse skill set. I think he's going to bring something to this Atlanta Hawks team. I'm not sure how much it's going to be in the first year. There'll be a lot of development, like most #1 overall picks and players that are drafted, but I do think he's going to help the team. I think he could potentially come in and be thrust right into the starting lineup, even though I did listen to Coach Quinn Snyder yesterday for Media Day, and he talked about not even knowing his rotation yet because, of course, Media Day was yesterday, but nobody has started practice yet. Training camp actually starts today. So outside of him, you also bring over Dyson Daniels. You bring over Larry Nance Jr., Cody Zeller. All three of these players were added in the trade with DeJounte Murray, but they also got David Roddy as well. So not sure how much he'll mean to the team, but I think there's potential for David Roddy to see some minutes just because perfect segue. You look at the subtractions. This Atlanta Hawks team, they not only lost DeJounte Murray, but they also lost AJ Griffin. Sadiq Bey is now gone. Wesley Matthews is now gone. And Bruno Fernando are all gone as well. So some key rotational players have left this team. I think the one bright spot for Atlanta, outside of having, continuing to have Trae Young, which I'll talk about in a second, is Jalen Johnson. His usage this season should be through the roof, especially without DeJounte Murray now. He did suffer with some injuries last season. But Jalen's his points per game average jumped from 5.6 2 seasons ago to 16 last season. Playing him over his player props at the beginning of the season, I feel like we potentially may have an edge there, depending on what the numbers will be. But I think that may be ideal. You also got Clint Capella, who, double machine. A lot of people just play his double, and it's typically been a cash cow. I think we see, a really good Clint Capella this year, and the reason why, it's a contract year. You always like to bet on players, when they're playing in their contract year. So I do like Clint Capella. We know that, the pick and roll with Trae Young has been something that has given opposing teams, a lot of problems over the years. I'm not sure that that's going to change this year. Then we get to Trae Young. Hawks were 14-14 in the 28 games that he missed this season, last season, and 22-32 with him playing. So crazy enough, the Hawks actually played better without Trae Young, but they got rid of DeJounte Murray. When he was available, he did average a career high 10.8 assists last season as well, even with DeJounte Murray on the floor. So definitely thinking that, he's gonna have the ball in his hands a lot. Dyson Daniels is a pretty good defender. I'm just not of the mindset that I really want to buy what Coach Quinn Snyder, is selling. I'm not a big Quinn Snyder guy, even, going back to his days when he was in Utah with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Like I said yesterday, he was uncertain of his rotations. Atlanta's a team that I kind of feel like, their regular season win total, which I have at the bottom here, 35.5 over on BetMGM. These numbers were all looked at, I think, over the weekend, and I'm pretty sure it hasn't changed much. Is a number that I kind of really want to get to. So there's a website that you guys can look at if you're at all interested. Just kind of give you guys one of my resources. There's a website that you guys can look at called Sports Odds History. And what this website does is it has a list of all the odds when they come out, and it keeps a running tab on the numbers for the teams. So something like regular season win total for the Atlanta Hawks, 35.5 this season. The Atlanta Hawks have gone under their win total in 3 straight seasons. Last year, 3 years ago, 47.5. 2 years ago, 46.5. Last year, 42.5. They went under in all 3 years. They haven't won more than 43 games in 5, 7, 8 years, something like that. I think it's been 8 years since they won more than 43 games. So they've gone under in 3 straight years. But I feel like you do get a pretty low number at 36.5. And it hasn't been this low in a while. So 7 wins have dropped off this team total since last year. Like I said, they were at 42.5 last season, and they did go under. I kind of want to get there with Atlanta. I kind of feel like they can win 36 games. You can get them to make the playoffs at plus 172. I mentioned this already, but they finished in the play-in game in 3 straight seasons, and they haven't won to make the playoffs in any of those. To win the Southeast Division, which is a super long shot, 14-1. I'm not interested in that. But those are my notes on the Atlanta Hawks. Like I said, not a team I'm super interested in. Not interested. I think they should get some injury luck to kind of go their way, because like I mentioned, a lot of their players missed key time last season. So if they can stay healthy, it's still going to be a work in progress, in my opinion. I'm not super high on the Atlanta Hawks, and I don't like their coach Quinn Snyder a lot either. Any thoughts on the Atlanta Hawks? Let's see what you guys are thinking. Clippers with a crazy comment here. Mitchell says there was a first half spread of 3 in that first game. 3 King says Marina Mabry's purpose played her way out of Chicago. I can't with that chick. Prestigious Prodigy says Lynx minus the 5 is his best bet. Aces money line. Okay. So still not believing in the Liberty quite yet. Okay. What about the first quarter spread? I'm staying off the first quarter, Mitchell. I'm not playing any of those spreads in the first quarter. Prestigious says NBA previews. Hell yeah. Can't wait for the season. I'm super excited as well. Jabba says Lynx lost by 3, and they and look at how they shot from 3, bounce back spot, and lock down Marina Mabry in the cover. I don't know if it's gonna be that easy, but I don't think it's gonna be easy, but I can see where you're going. Drew says Hawks are bums. Nobody wants Trae Young. Griffin trying to be on the Deacons board He said he left the game to give his life to God, but he was already gone anyway. He was where was he at? He was in Memphis, I think. I forgot where he went to. He was on a different team already. Bill says he likes he says Lynx early, Liberty all day. What up to my guy Malik? He says, what's a really good Clint Capella? More live catches. Yeah, just more live catches, some blocks. Him cashing his double, maybe his points plus rebounds, Malik. That's about good as you gonna get. But like I said, it's a contract year. That's typically when you want to bet on players. GLB says, what up, y'all? How about those games last night? I don't know what Eric talking about. He said, my name a fake account. Chill out with that. You're weird. I'm not sure who you're talking about, Eric. Let's get into the second team preview, a team that I do like a little bit more, and that is the Memphis Grizzlies. So Memphis last season went 27-55 straight up, 40-22 against the number. And, a large part of that was because this was I don't think I've ever seen the team get more injury. Like they are due for some great positive regression on injury luck. Ja Morant came back. He only ended up playing 9 games, I think it was. We'll talk about that in a second. And of course, you had injuries to everybody else. Derrick Rose, when he was there, last year he got hurt. Marcus Smart got hurt. Desmond Bane got hurt. Jerry Jackson Jr. got hurt. And some of it was precautionary as well. So they go out, they add Zach Edey because, of course, Steven Adams is not on the team anymore. That's the biggest offseason acquisition that they made. But you also bring in Jalen Wells. He played really well for the summer league team. You got Diakite. He comes over. Cam Spencer, draft him as well. It's going to take I think it's going to take the rookie some time to adjust, but not as much for Zach Edey. He's a big guy. Zach Edey is 7'4", 7'3", and you need him to do the same thing that Steven Adams did: rebound the basketball, set some good screens, and be able to catch some lobs when the double comes towards Ja Morant, so you can get some easy buckets. I think that sets up really, really well for Zach Edey. You lose Derrick Rose. Of course, they cut him and he ended up retiring. Watanabe, I think, went back to play in China. I think it was. You also lose Zaire Williams, which I thought Zaire Williams, he had a down year last year, but Zaire Williams was a key piece of their bench when Memphis was making some of those runs. And then you also lose Lamar Stevens as well. He was a 3-and-D type player that could play some 4, probably could play some 5 in today's NBA, just how strong he was as well. So it's going to, I think, if Memphis can stay healthy, and the books kind of got them set, like they're going to stay healthy. You see their win total at 47.5, second highest win total in their division, of course, behind only the Dallas Mavericks. Just pushing through. Ja Morant, he played just 9 games last season after suffering that shoulder injury that required surgery. They were 6-3 in the 9 games that Ja did play, which was pretty interesting. I don't know if people remember that little short segment that Ja Morant played last year, but they were pushing. They were really, really pushing. And I think it's pretty telling. Ja Morant's still good at basketball. I don't know how many people, I think the books understand that. I feel like they're not getting a lot of, recognition because the West continues to be a really, really difficult, just place. But I love what Memphis did. They bought back Luke Kennard to keep some floor spacing. The other part about Ja, I mentioned them being 6-3 with Ja Morant on the floor in the games that he played. They were 51. There was 21-52 without Ja Morant. So I think that's, serves them well having Ja Morant back. He's been cleared. He's been back, I think, since it was July is what Coach Taylor Jenkins said yesterday, and said this team is just eager. They got that grit and that hunger again because they were the hunted, and now they're going back to being the hunt. They're going back to doing the hunting. I love, what Gigi Jackson did last season. I think he got a lot of big minutes. Played well in the summer league also, but he did sustain a broken foot in late August, and he's gonna miss some time to start the season. But he's also like 19, so I expect him to heal up pretty quickly. Scottie Pippen Jr. also, played really, really well. Led the Grizzlies to that summer league championship. I'm not sure. I can't remember if they won or not, but I know they played in the championship game. Him and Gigi Jackson. So I was I'm kind of high on this Memphis team. The problem is that the books are too. 47.5 is a pretty big number. You need everybody to stay healthy if you want to take their season win total over. To win the Southwest Division wouldn't surprise me at all. This team is still relatively young. Some great core pieces. Jaren Jackson Jr. being the defensive anchor that he is, he won't have to, do as much on the offensive side. But he had a chance to kind of grow and develop into a leader last year when Desmond Bane and Ja Morant was hurt for so much time. So I'm kind of high on the Memphis Grizzlies this year. Coach Taylor Jenkins talked about, and Ja Morant talked about, like I said, about them being the hunted, the past few seasons. And then this year, like I said, they'll get back to being the hunters. They need to keep a couple, role players to step up. But I kind of like what Memphis is putting together. I do think, them just having that core, Desmond Bane, Ja Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be good. Getting Edie, in the draft is going to be good for their defense as well. I think we see this team start to get out, play with a lot of pace again. And they got a lot to prove. They got a lot to prove. So I do like this team. Like this team a lot. Didn't place any future bets on them. As you can see, plus minus 225 for them to make the playoffs, to win the division. I think is an interesting one. I got to finish, the rest of the handicaps before I dive into wanting to put a future on them to win the division. But plus 260 is a nice price over on DraftKings for them to win that Southwest Division. Season win total, I feel like they can get to as well. I just got to do a little bit more deep diving around everybody else before I get there. So those are my thoughts on the Memphis Grizzlies and the Atlanta Hawks. Let's go back and see what y'all seeing about the Memphis Grizzlies before we jump into a quick recap. Prestigious Party says big bounce back season for the Grizz. There's no spacing with the Grizzlies, Drew says. I couldn't disagree with this more, Drew. I think, like I said, adding Luke Kennard, Jaren Jackson Jr. can shoot the three. Excuse me. Desmond Bane is a great three-point shooter. I think you got plenty of spacing on the floor for Ja Morant to come off some of those high pick and rolls. So I can't agree with that. DJ Prop says this Memphis team will be great to bet on. Take him around assists and Edie rebounds all season. I expect Edie to be a walking double-double, and I think he will develop a three-point shot within the first few years. I am kind of on the same sentiments with you, Prop. I like that a lot. Malik says, you worried about their offense at all? This roster doesn't screen points to me. I think, one thing I looked at, Malik, to your point, is Memphis was a really good defensive team. They last year, it was that grit that kept them in games. Remember, they were big dogs a lot of the time, especially when they didn't have their rotational players. And they, all of those games seemed to go under. They were some of the lower totals on the board last season. And when I looked into the 9 games that Ja Morant played, I think they were like 6-3 to the under. I want to say they were 6-3 to the under in the 9 games that Ja Morant played. So I think that helps a lot. I think they'll rely on their defense a little bit more, but I do think that they're going to want to run too, up and down the floor. What's going to be interesting to see is if Eddie can keep up. I keep calling him Eddie. If Edie is going to be able to keep up, because Memphis, I think, is going to continue to run really, really fast up and down the floor. We'll see how that goes, though. G421 says Grizzlies going to be something to look at this season. Kind of agree. Malik says big year for Desmond Bane as well. I didn't even mention Desmond Bane, but yeah, I would absolutely agree. Desmond Bane probably takes another step forward, take some of that pressure off Ja Morant. Remember, he got that big contract from them as well. So Memphis has locked up all 3 of their key players for some time now. So we'll see. They all got their contracts, and like I said, I think that they want to get back to being relevant. So I agree with that. Malik says big year for Desmond Bane as well. He's going to have to be a legit second option for them to be competitive, and I absolutely agree there. So I didn't bet anything on those teams, but hopefully the recap, of the teams and kind of putting some numbers to it. What I did forget to do is talk about strength of schedule. So we'll get into strength of schedule. I'll go back and talk about Atlanta and Memphis strength of schedule, how they start the season, how many fourth game and fifth nights they have back-to-back situations, roll back-to-backs. We'll get into all of those because those do come into play when we're betting on these teams, especially for season-long props. So, some season-long bets. So, yeah, that'll be it for those two. Getting back in just to a quick recap, I like this under a little bit more than I like anything else in that Vegas and New York game. I do think that New York still wins. -3.5 was the number last night. And, as much as I'm seeing money come in and people talk about liking Vegas, this line has moved back to 4.5. So I didn't bet it, but I do lean towards New York being able to cover. I think, like I said, if you like the Aces, you probably want to take them early. That's when you can catch the Liberty kind of sleeping. Maybe their shots aren't falling. Maybe the Liberty shots aren't falling early, and the Aces kind of take advantage of that the way that Atlanta did in the first round. But I'm not taking the Aces for the full game. Like I said, I think that the Liberty are the better team this year. I think them being 4-0, I don't want to underestimate the heart of a champion, but I just kind of feel like Becky Hammond don't got so many more cards she can pull. We'll see how it goes. Also lean towards that first half under. Gave out a lot of trends to support that. Minnesota -2.5 should not say Minnesota -2.5. This should say -2.5. This should say Minnesota first half -2.5. -2.5 is available on BetMGM, -115. I kind of think that they punch early. Remember, I gave out that very, very strong trend towards teams who lose game one, but then they're favorites in game two. And that trend was, just real quick, I'll share it one more time with you guys. That trend was teams who lose game one as a home favorite, 16-2 straight up, 13-4-1 against the number, 76.5% in game twos per Killer Sports database. So I think that they jump out on them early. If for some reason Minnesota does not cover the first half, one, I'm probably going to be a little bit afraid to play the second half, but I think I'll go with Minnesota. I haven't bet them yet this series, so I think I'll go with Minnesota to cover the full game. But I'll start off with the first half spread, -2.5. I'll probably make that an official play. And that'll be the show for today, man. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Resources are here for anybody that are interested, especially if you guys are new to handicapping the sport. Definitely any of the sports. Definitely check into a couple of these resources. You can use these referral codes if you want as well, to save you some cash on your first month deposit. And that'll be the show for today, man. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Appreciate everybody for tapping in as always. Link for all my official plays when I do send them out. And I haven't played anything yet, but I will be on that under. I'm going to take that 165.5 for the Aces in the Liberty game. Anything else I make, I'll share with the members. Link for that membership is in the description of the video. As always, bet responsibly. And I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Enjoy your Tuesday. I'm out.